But it is what it is. Minasan, konnichiwa. このチャンネルがザハイロフィッシュですね。僕の名前、パトリキですね。I don't know why I wanted to practice my Japanese a little bit. Yokoso, minasan. Welcome in. Windows 10 is low-key kind of sort of trash when it comes to webcam stuff. Oof, I ain't even gonna try to mess with this no more. I just spent more time than I would care to admit. Not that I would care to admit, but I just spent more time than I would have liked trying to set this up. I'm gonna have to find some kind of software, and I want to use Streamlabs. I'm not Streamlabs. Yeah, I will OBS today because with the delay. So I mean, I guess I would have solved a lot of my problems, but you know, it is what it is. These cards on the table don't really mean too much anything, but they came out. Let's call this the pre-shuffle. I just wanted to lay some cards out to see what it would look like. So you know, and it's like kind of slanted a little bit. My whole setup. Hold up, y'all. See, I'm trying. I shouldn't touch this. That's a little better, marginally. It'll improve in the future whenever it's supposed to. So I pulled the SKT first, the Nine of Swords, the Hunt. You know what? I'm gonna turn these. So I'm gonna treat everything as if it's upright. I can't flip the camera, so you know, I could on OBS, but I can't on not OBS. So there you go. So I pulled these first. The Nine of Swords. Well, I feel like I should do it this way to make it more consistent, you know. And I guess, like, technically, you know. There you go. I'll get used to it. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal, but kind of sort of is. So I hope y'all can hear me. Amidst all the fans, this webcam supposedly has noise cancellation and stuff. So, but yeah, so this is what came out. The Nine of Swords, the Hunt came out first. See, okay, it is backwards now because it's still left to right. It's just upside down. I promise I tried to do a little something today, y'all. Like I so-called called myself. I like that a little better. So-called call myself figuring this out before I came live, but then I was like, in the settings, in the default settings on Windows, you can't even zoom with the webcam. You can't do a whole bunch of stuff with the webcam. I'm like, what? What kind of foolishness? So let's get into this. That ain't even really nothing to get into. But so the Nine of Swords, the Hunt came out, then the Lovers, and then the Four of Swords. I pulled these off the top after I showed them, right? Just to see. And then these, this jump, these I pulled off the top. So we have Judgment. And when I pulled these cards out of the box, Judgment was the only card that didn't come out. And so it peeked its head out. And then it fell out with this Nine of Swords. So maybe that's what this Hunt is all about. Maybe we're judging ourselves in our conduct in certain situations, right? Because it's like, you know, in order to do any kind of shadow anything, we have to accept. I feel like a lot of times when we talk about healing and growth, we focus on what other people have done to us, but I think it's also important for us to recognize the things that we have done as well. And so that's what this energy kind of sort of is. And it's learning to sort of not cope with that, but just learning to accept the fact that before you were healed, you act out of that hurt. And like I've done it for a lot of people. I had this conversation with my mother yesterday. Clarifying the Lovers, the Two of Pentacles, and the Six of Swords. So the Two of Pentacles in this deck, I actually love. Like, let's see if I can hold this up here. Like y'all see, he's fairly carefree. Like, just up there doing his thing, having fun, wearing that boa, the feather bow. Oh, that's what you call it, right? And then the Six of Swords. So I feel like with this Lovers, this choice, it's not that it's going to be easy at all, but it's going to be worth it. And it's like the struggles that you encounter in whatever this direction you're trying to decide if you want to go in or not, the struggles that you encounter compared to the struggles you had before are like non-struggles, right? Like you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if we should paint the walls like aquamarine, turquoise, blue, chartreuse, yellow, mint green, forest green, Kelly green. You know what I mean? That compared to, oh my gosh, like I'm losing my freaking mind and I can't stand to be in the space a day longer, but I also can't like leave the space and I don't feel like I'm worthy of the treatment that I don't feel like I'm worthy of treatment better than what I'm being treated as. And maybe this is some kind of punishment for whatever and I can't do any better. Like, you see the difference? Like, that's the difference. So it's not, it's like, it's a lot more, because it's like when you're in your power, and you come across something, it's a lot easier to make the decision. Like, I feel like, oh, I'm about to eat this cookie, y'all. I'm so sorry. I just saw it and I'm so excited. Oh, maybe I won't because in my hands are good. Oh, I want it now, though. I'm not going to eat it. It's a peanut butter cookie. It's so soft. My grandma made them. They so good. But when you're, it's like, it's a lot more logical than you think it is. Or it's a lot more simple. And so, and then we can kind of see that clarified over here with this Four of Swords clarified by the Six of Wands. Like, this is, the convalescent is about rest after, it's about recuperation. R&R, right? Rest, relaxation, recuperation, regeneration, rejuvenation, all of that. After a Three of Swords, heartbreak. But before a Five of Swords, battle. And that's why you see this knight laying at peace. But this is almost like, you know, you fought Three of Swords, you fought Five of Swords. Six of Swords is right here. And so it's like both of those battles are over. You can be at peace now, clarified by the Six of Wands, like victory. But this is a hard-fought victory. This is the Pride Tarot. I'm going to be featuring the Pride Tarot a lot more this month because it's Pride Month. I don't really have any Black or African-American centric decks to have featured in the month of February. So, you know, I didn't. I wish I did, but, you know, next year. Oh, and then at the bottom of the decks, we have the Emperor with the SKT and the Hangman with the Pride Tarot. So, you know, I feel like masculine energy in general is coming to the point where it needs to be fixed. Ooh, now y'all be able to see how interesting that shuffling I am. Or can be. Ooh, don't judge me. Also, I just showered not too long ago. I ain't put on no lotion because I ain't going nowhere. And honestly, I don't know where it is. So if I'm a little ashy, y'all can bear with it. All right. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna set down. It's all about journeys. Ooh, the Three of Cups. Okay, or the Three of Wands. Oops, see, y'all see that? It's good sometimes. Ooh, there's the Keeper and the Three of Wands. Oh, that was a better one. So I'm gonna be putting down a few cards. I'm gonna be using the SKT. Oh, the Seeker and the Keeper. Ah! That's some heavy energy. Oh, I should have pulled those. Oh well. I'm gonna be looking through this deck anyway to find the significators. I'm gonna be pulling the Three of Wands to see what we've been manifesting. I'm gonna pull the Eight of Cups and the Six of Swords to see like the ways in which we need to travel, because those are two traveling cards. I'll pull the 10 of Wands and the 10 of Swords as the challenge, but then the Sun card as the sort of victory that we're going for. No, I'll do the Sun and the Moon. We'll figure it out. I'm going to use these to anchor stuff. Ooh, there's the last Fool, y'all. Okay, I guess I should hold it this way. There's the last Fool, the Initiate. So this deck has three Fools, the Initiate, the Seeker, and the Keeper. We saw the Seeker and the Keeper just now at the cut. So the Seeker and the Keeper just now at the cut, and then boom, So we have the Fool, the Initiate, something brand new, the Four of Wands, a celebration, followed by the Six of Swords. So there's our first significator card that we're looking for. The tale resumes. Oh my gosh. Oh no, that's the Page of Swords. But here's this Eight of Cups right here. Here's our two movement cards. Not that separated by this Page of Swords. So pretty close to the bottom of the deck. Bottom of the deck is the more subconscious influence. So I feel like we're really, really, really wanting this. But what are we gonna do to get it? Is a question. Five of Wands, Seven of Wands, Seven of Cups. The Star, which is the healer, Ace of Swords, the Vagabond, and the Grotesque. Five of Cups and Five of Pentacles together. That's interesting. Let's see. This is really interesting. I guess I could have pulled the Chariot. The Chariot, okay, so this is also interesting. We have the Chariot, the Archangel of Healing, and the Tower, all right next to each other. This is King of Cups energy. And so it gets increasingly more conscious and decreasingly subconscious as I go, because I'm pulling from the bottom of the deck to reach the top. And so it's like still on a fairly deep level because we're not even halfway through the deck. Right? But we have this Tower moment more consciously that gives us this healing that puts us in a space to move forward, maybe in ways that we never thought we would have. Like I never would have thought I would be as vocal as I have been ever. And look, and then there's that Queen of Cups. So they're fairly close together too. What's between them? Let's see real quick. The Tower, the Knight of Swords, because then there's a King, Archangel of Healing right there. So the Tower, the Knight of Swords, the Hierophant, the Holy See, and the Queen of Cups. So two majors connected by this Knight of Swords. So she's sitting at the Hierophant wanting some kind of commitment, but maybe not yet in a space. Because like the Hierophant in this deck, the Holy See speaks to limitations and restrictions placed on us by higher organizations connected to some kind of higher power, supposedly. Right? And so it's almost like there were things that she hadn't yet accepted about herself that maybe left her guarded in some ways. And then there's like these catastrophic series of events that this person has gone through that they're healing from. And then there's this element of fluidity between them. But this is more of an understanding, I feel, than anything emotional. And that came out before a few days ago because it was the Archangel Commander, the Ivory Shield, and then the Scarlet Shield. The King, so the King of Swords came out, the Queen of Swords came out, and then this Queen of Cups was between them. Like both people were sort of emotionally guarded in some way, right? And so, you know, it's all the journey. Is that the journeyman? And then there's the journeyman right there. Let's see if I can get this. Boom. Can y'all read? Can you read? Can you read the journeyman? I guess it would help if I look at the actual camera instead of my computer screen. But then, yeah, it's all about the journey. And then what comes after that journeyman is this Emperor. See? Ooh, but there's the devil with the Nine of Cups. I feel like the devil with the Nine of Cups speaks to distorted desires. But then the High Priestess is right behind it. The phrase that just popped into my mind is in wine, in childhood, and in truth. No, in wine, in anger, and in childhood, there's always truth. I learned it in Latin. I can't remember what it is. But in wine and anger in childhood, there's always truth. Like when you get drunk, the truth come out sometimes. When you're upset, the truth come out sometimes. And kids don't know how to not insult people. So that's what that's related to. Ooh, the Ten of Cups and the Ten of Pentacles are close. What's before this? So we got the Knight of Pentacles. So this is coming in real slow. But it's almost like it needs to happen this slow because it's something that you need to know is built to last. And so there's a proving inherently involved in this because of the time it took for this to come together and because of the challenges that have been overcome in order to see this succeed. And then we have the Joyous One and the Dynasty together. I'm sort of low-key loving this. I'm loving this. I ain't gonna lie. I'm loving this. It could be better, but I ain't gonna complain. Oh, look. And then right behind the Ace of Pentacles is this Magician. So the Mages. Love that. And then the Two of Pentacles, Ten of Wands, Justice. Here's the Sun card. There's the Two of Swords, King of Wands, Ten of Swords. Oof. With that victory again. Seven of Swords. I want to see what's right behind this Eight of Wands because this could be something about to happen quick. Oh, the Two of Cups. Oh, snap. Wait. Y'all see that? Wait. Okay. All right. And it's pointing at that lion. Right? The arrow is pointing at the lion. So it almost feels like something is lodged in the mouth of that lion, even though the water comes from below the mouth. It's almost like something is lodged in the lion's mouth that prevents these snakes, because they're connected, from spitting out this water. So there has to be some kind of element of divine intervention to loosen the mouth of that lion to allow these waters to flow. But it's all like whatever happens on the divine plane, like for us, it involves experience. On other planes, it's energetic, but something has to happen in order for that to begin to move, right? Hangman with the Wheel of Fortune now. Oh, wow. So we got the Wheel of Fortune, the Outlaw, and the Angel, which is like the Wheel of Life, the Outlaw, and the Angel, which is the Wheel of Fortune, the Hangman, and Temperance. And so with the Wheel of Life, this is just like, this is the nature of how things work, right? And so to not be stuck or to get something to move requires some kind of alchemy. And how do we alchemize things down here, right? We do it by going through, certain experiences. So that's cute. Ace of Wands, Five of Swords. There's Hector with the Keeper. Three of Wands. I'm actually pulling this to see what we manifested. And then here's the Moon. That's everything I needed. So let's just run through the rest of these real quick. Page of Wands is bringing the Ace of Cups. Every time I see the Page of Wands now, I'm like, the tale resumes, because there's a lizard salamander right there. And if you cut off the salamander's tail, it goes back. So the tale resumes. It's time for us to hit the play button. And we got this Ace of Cups. Oh, big old Ace of Cups brought by this dove. An element of peace is going to be restored here, right? And that's going to be one of the most important things moving forward. And that's what that Four of Swords clarified by the Six of Wands was, right? It's peace. And so there are still going to be challenges that come up, but the difference is we've done enough to establish and discover our peace. And so now we won't allow things to disrupt it as much. I'm drinking some Dollar Store green tea, Clover Valley. I wanted chamomile. I didn't see none. We went to the Dollar Store, so I made do because, the Dollar Store is closer than a bigger store. So I had a green tea lemonade at Starbucks one time. I used to get them all the time, but now I'm like, Starbucks green tea tastes like pickle juice. So I was afraid that would taste like pickle juice, but it didn't. And then here's this King of Swords that I always want to be coming out now. Right after this Ace of Cups. There's an Archangel Commander, though. He's a fighter. Right? And then you see his helmet is off. So there's an element of truth that's going to be revealed in this. And it's almost like not only are you going to get some kind of truthful information, some clarity on the situation, but also I think this is about us discovering who we are through this process of the spiritual deprivation tank cleansing. isolation, separation, coagulation, coming back together. Like the whole alchemical process is happening in this cup right now, or has happened, or will happen, or won't happen, depending on who you are. And so that's why the mask is off. But it's also about protecting something. So something that no longer needs to be protected or hidden from us. Oh, I love this! The Page of Pennies. The strong code of the girl is bringing the giver, the Six of Pentacles. Hey, gimme, 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 yeah, man. Ain't that how the song going, Mama Mia? What's transforming this hermit? Oh my gosh, into the lovers, into that Nine of Swords. They're still together. The Reaper, the Erudite, and the Lovers. That's the Death card, the Hermit, and the Lovers. So this is all about things that were hidden deep within. And it's almost like this whole process, again, it's bringing it to the light. At least in my journey, for me in particular, I found someone who I love more than I've loved anybody in my life. And I find myself being this whole person. First, I was like, who am I? And what have you done to me? But then I thought about it earlier today. And I'm like, this situation has literally turned me into the person that I've always been. But it's the person that I decided not to be and the person that I hid away from the world. And so me being more loving, more patient, more compassionate, kind, and caring, and forming actual bonds with people instead of just being super quick to throw the whole person away, but keep the fond memories, but throw the whole person away when anything inconvenient happens. Like, that's what I became. And so it's like this mirroring thing, I feel like, where, and that's how it works, right? Because they say it's a mirror, they mirror your karma back to you. And so it's super nasty and super toxic and super ugly, but it reveals the ugliest parts of you. But in my experience, and again, it's because I went into it with a different knowing, or with a different mindset, with a different story. And when you go in with a different story, you get a different set of circumstances. But what was mirrored and reflected back to me were the better parts of myself that I had hidden. The parts of me that used to get taken advantage of. And at the end, it was like, I mean, I've said it before, but it's like, you know, the love that I had and have for this other person, I then had to turn on myself. And I had to turn it on myself because me not loving myself that much would have strained that relationship. And I didn't want to do that. And it called to the better parts of me. I wanted to be the best version of me. And so I had to love myself. And when I started to love myself, there were moments when I was like, you know, there are things that I force myself to do, things that I ask of myself that I would never ask of this person. And so one of those prime examples is hiding. Like, I would never ask this person to hide who they are. And so I can't hide who I am, because if I continue to hide who I am, then that inadvertently would lead to me asking them to hide who they are, because they bring out those truer sides of me. Right? And then it'd be like this whole, like, you're different when you're with other people, or you're different when we're in public, or why can't you just be yourself? Like, all that mess, all that drama, I was like, no, see, I don't even want that to be a potentiality in my reality, so I'm going to take care of that now. And it snowballed from there. So a lot of this Nine of Swords stuff, and it's like I did a lot of self-healing, and I faced my own shadow. But it's like you see the swords in her body and the swords not in her body. It's like the ones I could take care of within myself, I did my best to. But there were all these other things that would only be highlighted when in the presence of someone else. And those are the things that I was also seeking to heal. Like, quite literally, it was the end of last March when I was like, I have anxiety around relationships. And to heal that, I need to engage with people. And so that's what I did. And I wasn't too far into my journey of learning to be myself with others, learning to connect to others, and really easing all of the worries and fears and anxieties I have around being with someone else. It wasn't too long into that I met someone truly amazing. And I feel like there was always something like kind of sort of deep within me that resonated with this person. Didn't know why. This random person. I mean, it's happened before when I've been like, oh, like you look familiar. But the things that this person called to within me that were buried under everything, without this person, like this person didn't have to do anything besides like, I guess interact with me. And like this stuff just naturally started to come to the surface. And it's all part of the journey anyway, because that's what I was doing. But that person amplified it 3 times. Hey, what's behind that? Oh, the whole new world, new world order, where we come together and we work together. That's the new world I want to live in with the Knight of Cups. Knight of Cups. I'm listening to my peaceful meditations playlist, by the way. I don't know if I said that, but I am. But yeah, from the beginning, it's like that person always called to the truer, more authentic parts of me. And so there were ways that I would interact with that person that I would literally interact with nobody else. Like when I say the amount of compassion and patience I had with that person, and I feel like I was a lot further on my journey than that person was on his. And it's not a lot further as a means of measurement, but if we talk about time and what is time, I was on mine for longer. And there were things within me that I had already worked through that he hadn't yet worked through within himself. But all of that is to say that if I didn't have the head start that I had, our relationship would not have made it past a few months. It honestly wouldn't, because there were things that I would try to protect myself from, or situations that I didn't want to be involved in. So it's like, I don't want to be involved in this personally or through an acquaintance. And whatever this is, I know it's not your fault, but you're involved in it. So I'm going to have to step away and let you figure this. Like that would have been me. I would have walked away a long time ago. I never would have given it the chance. I would have never reached the point in the space that I am at now if I didn't have that head start, because that's the type of person I was. That's who I had become. And plus, it's like, ooh, like I thought I do stuff quick. I thought I was a quick learner. Like, oof, like this, I got nothing on this person. Like Scorpio for real when it comes to transformation. I got one Scorpio placement and it's Pluto. So I got like my Pluto is strong at home. My Pluto is retrograde, which with Scorpio, I feel like kind of sort of makes it even stronger. It may make the challenge more difficult to unlock that energy, but the energy like Pluto retrograde in Scorpio, I feel like is even stronger, because retrograde kind of sort of is the energy that Pluto was all about, right? It's about reassessing, going back and fixing, kind of like Saturn. But Saturn's aim, I feel like, is to move forward more, and Pluto's aim is more of a transformation, right? I feel like with Saturn, it's like a necessity. Like, what do we have to go back and fix to move forward? But with Pluto, it's like, what you got that you don't need, I'm a fixer upper, I'm a cleaner, right? Saturn is like, I'm trying to make room for something. Pluto is just like, it's spring cleaning, it's fall cleaning, it's winter cleaning, it's summer cleaning, it's Tuesday cleaning, it's Tuesday at 5 p.m. cleaning, now it's Tuesday at 5:01 p.m. cleaning, right? Like that's kind of sort of Pluto in a way, because it's all about transformation. But man, this other person, I'm just like, it blows my mind how quick they just like, and I feel within me, like, I know that I have a lot within me that I haven't necessarily like acted on or played out or done whatever, but I feel like the person I'm connected to, like even more so, like, and it's been a while. It's just like, I feel like you're stronger than me. I feel like you're more powerful than I am. And I don't have a huge ego, but for me to feel like that is like, it means something because I don't really compare myself to people like ever. And so in order for me to like reach that point or to feel that way, I'm just like, wow. But also I feel like to compensate for that, there's been a different set of challenges that have affected that person in different ways. And so they have ties to some things that I wouldn't necessarily have ties to because I'm more of the person to just walk away, or I used to be. Anyway, it ain't about all of that. I guess it kind of sort of is, but it kind of sort of ain't at the same time. And then we got this Two of Wands discerning one after this Knight of Cups. So it's time to make a decision. It's time to make a choice. It's time to pick a direction. And look, that little ram already know where they want to go. It's already looking in the direction. And there's so much beyond the gates. And then the last two cards, the Empress and the Nine of Wands. Somebody gonna get all beat up, battered, bruised to get to the Empress. But she'll heal you right up. It'll be like it never happened. Well, it will be like it never happened as far as like mentally and maybe emotionally. But you will remember that it happened because it's important for you to remember, like to see how far you've come, you know? So these are the energies on the table. That was everything before. Now I'm just gonna shuffle these up. We'll see if I can get some jumpers. I mean, I'll fill it out, honestly. Hierophant and the Eight of Swords at the cut. So, you know, that's definitely restrictive systems. Ooh, but then there are 4 of Wands, but the Eight of Swords is still at the bottom of the deck. So the Hierophant was trapped, the 4 of Wands was trapped, just perception of things, the 5 of Cups with the 4 of Swords, or with the 4 of Wands though. So we walking away from that heartbreak, even though, you know, we gotta grieve it. Oh, now with the Lovers and the 5 of Cups, so all that other stuff is the 3 Cups, and we going to the 2 Cups. So the 5 of Cups is between the Lovers and the 4 of Wands. So it's a hard space to be in when you've been in interesting places and spaces. Oh, now the Lovers is with that 2 of Pentacles, which is all about, it's a fun choice. It's not that it's easy, but it's so worth it and so worthwhile. So let's look at this 3 of Wands first. What is he trying to manifest? Okay, well, let's see what that was. Oh, okay, Miss Empress, I see you, girl. She came out. She was at the bottom of the deck yesterday. If you aren't following me on Instagram and or Twitter, go ahead and check your boy out. On Instagram, I believe it's at the Hierofish, or just the Hierofish. On Twitter, it's at Hierofish. So, yeah. I mean, you ain't gotta follow me if you don't want to. Honestly, you don't have to follow me at all. And my Twitter right now, I don't even know what I'm doing with that. I just wanted to save the name. But yeah, I kind of sort of have a little bit of a different flavor on my different platforms. Right now on Twitter, it's kind of sort of mostly me processing through everything. I'm kind of sort of thinking astrologically because it's like I need a place to write it down. And so I use Twitter. It could be astrologically, it could be anything. Right now, it's just I got like 3 posts up, and 2 of them are me trying to look at what the North Node, Gemini, South Node, Sagittarius could be. And again, I don't like South Node Sagittarius because it is so expansive. It's the planet Jupiter, right? And I feel like Jupiter is big enough that we could think we're doing something, or we could think we're leaving and walking towards the North Node, but in reality, we're still on Jupiter because it's so big. And Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system. So you got all of Jupiter to walk away from and little bitty Mercury to get to. Now, Mercury is quick. Mercury is the fastest planet, but it's also the smallest. So it's like you might miss it. It's like, you know, trying to swat a mosquito, maybe. I don't advocate for swatting anything on this channel, but I also don't advocate for letting yourself be somebody else's food source. Okay. Well, I mean, y'all fell out right on top of this, so let's see. Ooh, this one will be connecting these two. This one will be up here. Actually, no, that's what we. Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. I'll set these here for now. Because honestly, this is what, like, I was going to put these here, but then they fell right on top of these. So I was like, maybe they go there. But I wanted to do one more shuffle to see if anything will come out to clarify. Oh, I got to put these in reverse. Sorry. To see if anything would clarify this Empress. So y'all already know what it is. So this is how I'm going to do this. I'm going to get one card to see what we're leaving, and then a card to see what we're going towards. Right? But it's going to be backwards. So this is what we're leaving. This is what we're going towards, because you can see there, like, there's a directionality in these cards. So what is the rough sort of thing? What mentally are we sort of leaving behind? I wish there was an Earth one. Maybe I could have done the Knight of Pentacles to see what physically we're leaving behind. So let me give this a few shuffles. What's a souffle? Like, I know it's a cooking thing, but like, what is it actually? And can you get a cheddar souffle or like some cheesy kind of souffle? Because if you can, I am craving it now. Like some warm cheese with a little bit of a kick to it on something. Yes. Ooh, leaving that Nine of Pentacles. We leaving the Nine of Pentacles behind? Somebody who, like, I'm a strong, independent, whatever. I don't need nobody else. That's what we're leaving behind. Because you being a strong, independent, whatever is probably, maybe got you in some kind of Queen of Swords in reverse type of mode. And what are we going towards mentally? Maybe there's this mentality. Ooh, it's a mystery. I love mysteries. Okay, so we'll put that later. So emotionally, what are we walking away from? Ooh, look, there's the moon with the World card. A whole bunch of stuff that we may not even necessarily realize. And now the Two of Swords is with the World card, so leaving that indecision behind. Because to not pick, oh, with the Pride card, I love that. I feel like the Two of Swords and that Pride card means that we're holding ourselves up in a lot of areas by not being decisive, by not taking a stance, by not doing anything to actually make that change. Like, you can wish for it and want it, but wishing and wanting is just one piece of the puzzle, right? You actually got to do some stuff to get places. And that's why I chose these cards, right? Because this is actual movement, right? What are we actually doing? Okay. Oof. Ooh, that's a whole lot. But I'll take them. Y'all see that? Y'all probably saw that. Oh, that's 3 cards. So lots of emotions here. But the Hangman is also here, so this is not easy for us to walk away from. What are we going towards, though? Ooh, that came out quick. Oh, y'all see that? Y'all see what we going towards? Okay. Love it. Boys call me sexy, but I don't care what they say. Because every time I turn around, y'all screaming my name. So, hello? Like, it's time for us to get some kind of standards. That's what it is. I've been talking about self-worth. It's time for us to get some kind of standards. I'm actually shuffle these over here because I got too many cards right there. Y'all can still see me over here, though. Right? Kind of, sort of. Kind of, sort of. That's one benefit to having, ooh, Ten of Swords and, what's that, the Magician? Ooh. With the most prominent tool being that sword, Ten of Swords with the Magician. I love the Ten of Swords in this deck. I mean, it's a little grotesque, but because of the moon behind it, honestly. And the head is separate from the body. And her inner demons are like tearing at her heart. So this is about coming all together. There you go. First, you got to connect the head and the body, the heart and the mind. And then you have to realize that the things that we've been through with that moon energy, it does more for us, then we may care to think. So I'm gonna give this a few shuffles. If any card comes out, I'm gonna put it in between. And I'm kind of sort of use that as my cue to stop. And then I'll pull the sun card as the top of the deck and the moon card. Oh, okay, thank you. Because I was like, that's a little bit way too much. Oh, I did a few extra shuffles anyway. Oh, well. So top of the deck is the sun. Bottom of the deck is its moon. More conscious influence, more subconscious influence. Wish I had a little bit more room, but it is what it is. So we got the Empress. Oh, wow. I didn't even notice that the Empress is at the bottom of the deck over here. And then the Empress was the first card that came out. So, love that, question mark? I mean, it's been there the whole time, face up. So y'all have seen it. Now we have the Eight of Pentacles over here. So it's not that it's going to be easy. It is going to require work. But this is going to be work, not only work worth doing, but I feel like it's going to be work that we enjoy doing, right? I mean, I feel like I've done work that I've enjoyed doing. Shoot, I'm glad to be free of a lot of the stuff that, I mean, regardless of how hard it is, I was. And then the Six of Swords came right back out. So we want to move. And I see the Seven of Cups peeking out. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit longer of a video. I mean, all my videos are long, so it ain't going to be as long as, you know, some of the videos on this channel. But I do want to read the entries for these because A, it is Pride Month. And B, reading is what? Fundamental. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. Okay. Oh, that's the wrong little book. I need here it is. Pride Tarot. Oh, I didn't give my new little tagline. Welcome to Cassandra's Tarot Dice and Spiritual Advice. My name is Patrick, aka the Hierophant. I'm gonna just start going by Cassandra from now on. So just call me Cassandra. I like Cassandra better than Cassandra, but I think it's actually Cassandra. But hey, that's beside the point. So the Empress is this card. I ain't gonna lift it up because y'all can kind of sort of see it. Y'all can see it well enough. So when it comes to what we've been manifesting with this politic, the Three of Wands, the Three of Wands is kind of sort of in this deck. It's like when the wise men came together to find little baby Jesus. I'm actually going to eat a little piece of this cookie because I'm staring at it and I want it. So I'm going to eat it. I will be careful to not get any crumbs on my fingers though. It's in a plastic bag, so I'll use the bag. It's good. All right. I'm good now. Okay. So it's like the wise men coming together for some kind of prophecy. This is a very prophetic energy. And so the things that we ask for, oh, hold on. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm so sorry. I want to chime into the home team real quick. Hello, home team. I washed my hair, as y'all can see. Took the braids. I kind of like how my hair felt after I took the braids out because it felt like it had a little bit of a texture to it, a little bit of a wave. And that was cool. I ain't watched your message yet, Mom, but I just wanted to chime in. Heartbeat number 1 today. Hopefully we see the other heartbeats. Maybe not. Okay, so I'm sorry about that, y'all, but not really. So there's this group between my grandmother, my mother, my auntie, and the first cousins. So my mama kids, my auntie kids, and my grandmother. And it's for us to, so my grandma can see all of us, honestly, and for us to keep in contact a little bit. It's part of what has helped me connect to family because that was a huge part of my journey last year. And one of the first steps was me getting past everything mentally that I had mentally associated with my eyes. And one of the other things that was really important was getting, like, reigniting that whatever with my family, right? Turns out, you know, I managed to find myself interested in someone who is like family person to the extreme. And there are quite a few times when I see this person in a dream and we're like with family. Honestly, most of the time I dream about this person, especially I guess more in the past, was always like involving other people, or like he like would be working on something, and I'd be there just like supporting, giving ideas, or just chilling, hanging out. It was like I'm working on this, I'm doing that. There were like some kind of productions that were being put on, and he was, I guess, like a director or something. And I don't even know if like off camera things. I guess you could record a production and put it on camera, but maybe he wrote it. I don't know. But like we were doing that, and we'd be just like chilling in the back, just talking for a second. And they'd be like, "Hey, we need you." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Okay, here." But lots of like family or other people. But kind of sort of recently, it's like more one on one, which is interesting. And I've said it before, but in my dreams, it's like the person was taller. And I'm like, how are you taller than me when we're supposed to be like roughly the same height? Like, you's a good at least few inches taller than me. But also at the same time, when I saw that person in the dream, and one of those dreams where there was like this house that was kind of sort of, it was like on a hill, but it wasn't on a hill. It was like on a cliff or something. It overlooked some kind of body of water, but it was like it wasn't in the mountains, but there was like a drop off, and like the house was opulent, very eccentric. Like you could tell that whoever lived in that house had a personality and not just money. But sometimes when people get money, I take that back, because there's some people out there with quite a bit of money and they get like super eccentric and weird, right? It was kind of sort of those vibes. Chandelier, gorgeous. The stairs, like who designed these? But gorgeous. Kids outside, not being supervised. I'm like, where y'all? Like, where's your adult? What no adult? I'm just like, what are these kids doing out here? I go inside. I'm just like in awe, just roaming around the house. Towards the end of the dream, though, I see this man, and he's taller than me. But I'm like, how are you taller than me? But also at the same time, like in that dream, he held me in a way that I've never really been held before, and it was extremely comforting. And I knew that who that person was in that dream. I don't know why I'm talking about all this. Maybe I'm just venting a little bit. Shoot, it's my channel. It's my channel. I can vent if I want to, cry if I want to, do whatever the freak I want to. And if you don't like it, you can go somewhere else. Do 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 do. But I could tell that he wasn't my person, and it was more of the person that person would become. And it's not to say that I want to change that person at all, but I can also realize that who that person, I can also realize that that person hasn't fully come into themselves yet, or at that point hadn't fully come into themselves in a way where they would allow themselves to be who they are. And so this person is very kind, very caring, very compassionate, but when they connect with the truth of who they are all of that, even more so. And it's because they're all of that in ways that they're not guarding or shielding or hiding. And so I was able to be like full vulnerable with this person, which I honestly kind of sort of haven't been able to do with IRL, because like there are walls there that have prevented it. Maybe on both sides, probably on both sides, kind of sort of definitely on both sides, because I didn't want to get like hurt. And I don't think the other person did either. And the timing of it was just so weird, but I guess Mike know what he's doing. Because in the beginning, closer to when things first like rolled out, I was like, Mike, like why? Like why? Like, what was the point or what was the purpose of any of this if this is how it ends? Now I can see it. And I knew I would eventually. I was just like, why? Why, Michael? Why? Anyway, see, that's why, like, low key, because I talk about Mike all the time. I ain't got nothing against Mike. I love Mike. But the energy of Mike pushes me when I don't like to be moved. Right. And so I was pushed into a certain situation before I was even ready for it. And I feel like I read as a lot more ready for everything than I actually was. I was high key. Like, I would say low key, like on the outside, low key, internally high key, kind of sort of terrified. But I wasn't, I had decided to continue to show up the best that I could because that's where I am on my journey. Um, and because it's happened before, and I'm glad I did, even though I was scared. And I it read as, again, like I was a lot more ready than I actually was, and so I was kind of sort of taken aback and surprised when everything happened, but at the same time, I guess I was grateful for the opportunity to, or am grateful for the opportunity to grow more on my end because I don't feel like I was, like, I feel like if things wouldn't have happened, maybe like it would have worked out. I feel like it would have. Well, honestly, if I'm being completely honest, they wouldn't have worked out. They wouldn't. And if they did, it would have required a lot more work and even more time than the time we've been apart. If it would have worked out. And so ultimately at the end of the day, I don't know if they would have, and if they would have, it would have been not as great or as grand as it will be when things come back together. Because it would have been a lot of like, I don't really like this, but I'll accept it. I don't really like that, but I'll accept it. It would have been a lot of self-sacrificial type of whatever. And it's not that, relationships or commitments don't involve a certain level of sacrifice or what do you call it when you find a common ground between somebody? Come. Oh, I wish. Let me stop. Compromise. That's the word. I was like, compassion. Something along compassion kept coming to my mind. I was like, no, not that. It's like compromise. It involves some level of sacrifice and compromise. But again, that's a like Pride Tarot 2 of Pentacles compromise. That's what that is. That's compromise instead of juggling on here. But it's a compromise that you're happy to make. Right? Anyway, why am I going into all this? So in the dream, it's like this person was a lot freer. And I think that's why they were taller than me. And I laid my head on their chest. And I was just like open and vulnerable in a way that I've kind of sort of been once before. But even with that, I couldn't be completely open and vulnerable. And I was like, I'm not your person. And he was like, I know. Like, I am your person, but like, I am not, because I could tell that time had passed between who I am and who I was in that dream and the person that I was, I guess, lying with, I guess. Like, we were lying together, but we weren't like lying together. I actually don't have too many intimate dreams with this person. I don't think I've ever had an intimate dream with this person. The most intimate, hold up, wait, if I had, it would have been like a one-off thing that I don't even remember. But the most intimate I've been with this person is like being in a place, I see their computer and they come in the door And then like I'm not like looking at the computer, I'm just like standing by it as they come in the door, and then they rush over to like shut it. And when they're shutting the computer, I'm like, oh, so you've been watching? Okay, all right, interesting. I'm just gonna pretend like, and like there was a laptop and a computer. It was on both screens, the same thing. I'm like, okay, but like that's the most intimate, because it's, I guess for me maybe it's a different kind of intimacy, right? Because it's like, if it's just sex, like you can get that with anybody, even good sex, you can get with anybody. Now, like amazing sex you can get with like fewer people, but when we're talking about actual connection, like actual intimacy, like that, when people say that sex is sacred, now some people can have more sacred or more connective, more maybe like tantric sex with people when they know what they're doing, but for me, I've always been the type of person where it's all about the emotional connection more so than the physical connection. And if there's no emotional connection, it's not going to be great for me, because that's just how I am. So we were lying together, and I was like, "I'm not your person," and he was like, "I know." And then I was like, "Well, like, can you tell me where my person at?" And he didn't really tell me, but I left the house and I remember he kind of sort of sent me on a journey, I guess. And I guess it's the journey that I'm on now. Because he was like, and it was this Six of Swords type of feeling. Because I was like, I'm going to have to get in a boat and I'm going to have to go somewhere. Um, and that's when I noticed that the house on the cliff was like next to a body of water. Because I was like, oh, like it's overlooking this body of water. Like I'm gonna have to cross all this water. And then I had another dream, or a few other dreams, where this person was taller than me. And I keep up with this person. Honestly, I don't feel like it's spying. It might be, but I don't feel like it is because, first of all, I don't hide the fact that I do it. And second of all, like, it's like I'm supporting this person. So, and it's like, well, you could rationalize it however you want, but if you paid your swords and you paid your swords, my tea is gone, y'all. So now I'm getting a bottle of water. I ain't even into these cards. I'll timestamp it. Put the timestamp in the description. Timestamp is almost, if ever I do a timestamp, it's in the description box. So click that little arrow if you're on mobile. If you're on like desktop, then it probably shows you enough where you can see that I put it in the description. I'll also put it down in the comments if I remember to, because like it don't really pop up until it's done processing for me to click on it and then put it in the comments. I guess I could remedy that by just coming in here real quick. So I'm gonna pop in here real quick. Oh wait, what time is it? Hold up. Oh, stop, Siri. It's 1:11. Y'all see that? It's 1:11. I woke up at 10:10 today. When I finally got out of bed and I looked at my phone, it was 10:10. I saw 11:11, 12:12, and now 1:11. I think I saw 11:11 after I got out the shower, maybe. And then I randomly saw 12:12 sometime around the time I was about to start this. And I just saw 11:11 or 1:11. So 10:10, 11:11, 12:12, and 1:11. I've seen all of them today. So, hey, maybe today's the day. You never know. The day for what? I don't know. But you never know. Ooh, why my heart starting to feel a little pitter patter? Also, I haven't been extremely anxious in a minute, so that's amazing. Pisces, a surprise turn of events, 15th to 21st of June, 20 whatever. I don't know who you are, but I like surprises, so surprise me. I say like the biggest surprise would be like nothing ever happening. Oh, I like surprises. Wait for until the end of my life. I don't want to wait for my life to be over. But also, I can't wait for this chapter of my life to be over. So, One second, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. What am I apologizing for? Hey, so the sound is actually pretty decent. The webcam said that it had noise canceling. Somebody was like, how is this stereo noise canceling if you only got one microphone hole? But I can keep my fan on and not have to worry about y'all necessarily hearing it as much. So that's cool. And the delay isn't too bad either. So sexy. I love that. All right. I just wanted to put that in my watch history so I can come back to it and comment on it before I finish uploading, because it apparently takes forever to upload a live video now. And I used to like to do it because it would upload quick live, but now I guess I don't want to. Anyway, all of that besides the point. I'm a timestamp when I actually get into this. So he sent me on a journey, but I was like, where's my person? And then I don't remember the chronology of these dreams, and I've talked about it before. I had the dream about the lion that stuck a claw in my back, and now I found myself in this space of strength. Also dreamed about a tiger that didn't like put full claw in my, like lion like stabbed me in the back with one claw, but stabbed me in the back. And it was, I could already feel it behind me, like, okay, I won't freak out. You know, I'm gonna just try to play it cool, and I'm gonna hope that the teacher come by because he just assigned me this animal and it's about to attack me. I can feel it breathing on the back of my neck. And I was just like, I'll just stay cool. And then it stabbed me. I'm like, oh my gosh. But still trying to stay cool, you know, until the teacher came over. And by the time the teacher came over, the lion had disappeared. But we were all assigned, like I was in a classroom and we were assigned animals to study, and my animal was the lion. And so here I am actually using my voice in a space of to be more courageous, I guess. So I guess I got an A on that one, or I passed at least, you know. And then I saw the tiger, but the tiger didn't like, it kind of like flexed. It did this. It was like patting me on the back, but when it was like patting me, like its paw would flex and the claws would come out a little bit. And so they were just like, they weren't like digging into me, but they were pressing into me. And then I'm like, why do we have a pet tiger? Hello? And I never watched Tiger King because I don't have Netflix right now. Because I had Netflix for a few months, literally for months, and I didn't even watch it. So for all of this time that has passed, and Netflix in my email, like, we miss you, like, come back for full price. Girl, you don't miss me that much. Anywhere else, they would at least give me 1 month at a slightly discounted price. Like, come back for full price. I'm like, no, see, y'all don't really miss me. You can miss me with that, is what you can do. Now Disney Plus is coming from my wallet with Artemis Fowl, and that's like one of the few series of books I actually like. Well, when I was little, I read a lot, but I actually found the Artemis Fowl series of books after I stopped reading because I got a Nintendo 64 and it was all about Glover and Mario Kart and Super Smash Bros. Super Smash Brothers back in the day. But I found that series of books and I loved it. And I guess I don't want to spoil anything, but there was one point in the series of books where, and the show might be different. There was one point, so if you want to watch the show and you don't want spoilers, then skip this. I'm apparently bad at doing spoilers, but I did the spoiler warning before this time, so I'm getting better. But it was in one of the books where he basically had knowledge of the magical realms and the creatures that dwelt within. And they had to wipe his memory. And he was like, okay, like if this is what has to be done, then this is what has to be done. Of course, he didn't want it to happen, but he left himself a clue to remember everything. And I read that when I was younger. So I was like, if I had knowledge or awareness of something, and this is so funny because, you know, now I'm on this journey that some people would call a journey of remembrance, of us remembering who we actually are. So, and maybe it was foreshadowing. But I was like, if I had known something and I was forced to forget it, where would I leave myself with it? And how would I do it? And so that's always been something kind of sort of in the back of my mind. And then I remember there was one point in time when I was like, I had this phone that I thought I would keep forever. Not that I would have it forever, but I thought I would keep it forever. And so every year I set an alarm to go back in time and meet myself, right? I was like, come back in time and rescue me, please. Because things ain't great. And it's not that, things were necessarily like trauma worthy for me, but I could have stood to be happier. Um, and it was all self inflicted. I know that. I knew that at the time too, because it was self inflicted. I knew what I was doing when I was doing it, because I have that level of awareness or consciousness or self awareness. It was all to protect my heart, and it ended up effing me up. But I've gotten uneffed, so that's cool. Um, but yeah, I would set a reminder that'd be like, go back in time and like save me on my birthday every year. I was like, because if time travel ever happens, like even if it's 70 years from now and I'm still alive, I can still come back and do something. What am I talking about? I'm just rambling. But anyway, so I've been seeing this person and they've been taller than me, blah, 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 whatever. I've been watching this person. I'm not like watching. I've been supporting this person. Um, and what's interesting is like they've been kind of sort of low key full body lately. And the person looks taller to me on camera. And so that's interesting. That because in my dreams they were always taller. And then I was thinking about it maybe yesterday, and I was like, well, maybe that's because there was some kind of growth that they also needed to do still. And like, I mean, that was obvious and apparent in a lot of ways. No tea, no shade, but I noticed it. I just didn't say anything because it's not my place in my space to tell people, hey, you got more growth that you need to do. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it was going to happen regardless anyway. And that's one of the great, 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 great comforts I have in this person. And how this person continues to amaze and bewilder me is that it's just, even when they may not necessarily see it, their dedication to growth is amazing. And it's one of the things I admire about this person. I admire a lot of things about this person. But it's one of the things that I admire about that person. And it's one of the ways for me that he is reaffirming everything that I saw in him in the beginning. And it's like there are some things I guess you can see without seeing it. Some things it's like it, but you can't necessarily put your finger on it. And that was one of the things that I knew from fairly early on that I couldn't put my finger on. Oof. But yeah, he's starting to look a little taller. And I feel like on the outside, he hasn't necessarily changed extremely or drastically. But when I look at him now, I feel like I can see him not only as the person in my dreams, but I guess it's because I can see him as he is now that I can understand maybe how I saw him in my dream. And it wasn't that like I had shrunk or whatever, but I guess it was growth that I saw coming for him that I didn't at that point yet see in myself. But yeah, he looks taller to me now. And I don't know, I'm kind of sort of looking at him in a way that, and it's not a way that I haven't looked at him before, but it's hot. And I guess I like that. I've done it a few times. But one of the things that I like most about this person is if I am so blessed, if I am so fortunate to At the very least, have my friendship back. At the very least. At the more, be able to go on this journey together. That would be amazing. It just like, and this person, for whatever reason, just sticks in my head. Like nobody sticks in my head like this. And I was telling my mom, and she's like, well, that's because subconsciously you blah, 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 you this, you that, whatever. And I was like, there have been people that I've been interested in all my life. And I don't dream about, like, honestly, most of the time, I don't see people that I actually know in my dreams. And if I do, it's like few and far between. It's like once, twice, not that often. I see this person a lot, and we spend a lot of time together. And even before I fell into it as deep as I am now, like this person would pop up, just like in my field energetically. And I'm like, first I was like, what is this? And then I was like, okay, this is kind of nice. And then I was annoyed because I was like, so like, am I the only one? Like, am I crazy? Not like, am I crazy, but like, is this just showing me that like this is the person who it is now to lead me to someone else? Because like I had one of those, right? I talk about him a lot, Nathan. um, like, is this just like a stepping stone on my journey to find out who that person actually is for me? Um, and then, I would also get annoyed because it's like sometimes I had more feelings for that person than I would care to hold, especially when I would get like minorly annoyed or frustrated and I would just want to be over it. And whenever I would try to be over it, I would have this dream every single time when I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just walk away, shoot, because there's a lot of tomfoolery going on, and I'm not about that life. I'm not about this life. And whenever I would really reach my whatever, I would have a dream, and I'm like, then I wake up annoyed because it would be the super annoying rubber band thing. It's like if I get too close, I get snapped back. If I get too far, I get like sucked back in. I'm like, what is this annoying dynamic? Because like I've lived for so long just like cutting stuff off. I care too much, boom, cut off. I'm moving on, looking for whatever reason and excuse I can to get out. Self-sabotaging, hardcore. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Shoot, what was I? Why was I going on to all those links and extremes? I guess the Four of Wands is right here. So hey, it's relevant. It's salient. This is my experience of the journey. This is my flavor. Um, but yeah, I guess in the way that I theorized it, the way that I felt it for myself personally, is the way that it's played out for me. So that's also a lesson in, the energetics and vibrations of things. Because, if you buy into someone else's flavor of the journey, that involves a lot more karma and a lot more toxicity and a lot more this and a lot more of that, then hey, that's going to be what you experience. Right. But I guess I've always sort of had an ability to cut to the truth of something, or to be like, that piece doesn't feel right. That piece of it doesn't sit right, but you got something there. And I was like, well, if I expand on the something there, what would it be like for me? Right. And that's why I've always held the position of a lot of what people call this journey is like some kind of sideshow distraction to keep people who would otherwise be forward moving from moving forward. And it's almost not almost high key. It felt like double energy. I was like, this is double energy to keep people stuck in karmic cycles instead of making actual progress. And now I'm at the point now where I'm like, okay, so has anyone been making actual progress, where things are in the world? Or is it like, whenever we encounter something hard, we try to pull the wool over our own eyes and act like it's not there? Because, but we all have our journeys. So it's different for everybody. again, I don't know why I'm talking about all of this. I forgot where I was going with that person, rubber banding, coming back, going forward, dreaming about this person. I've always been able to see just like glimpses of something, a little bit of something more, just a little bit. It would be like a glimpse, and it would just like catch my eye, and I'm like, but now it's like the glimpse is the whole show, or it's becoming more and more of the show, and I'm loving it. Um, I was talking about if I would be so lucky to be with this person. Oh yeah, like for me, and this is like for me, this is how we prove ourselves to each other by doing the hard stuff when we're not together, right? Because I'm the type of person, if I start to feel stagnant, I hate it. I hate feeling stagnant. I like to always be growing and always evolving and always changing. And I don't know if this other person is necessarily the same in that mentality, but I could definitely see that energy playing out in different areas or in different ways. And so, yeah, I remember very, 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 very early into the quote unquote separation, I had a dream that this person texted me, and it was a whole bunch of foolishness. It wasn't foolishness, but it was still early, and I was like, oh, still excusing and doing stuff like that, whatever. And one of the last texts I got, he was like, I'm going to prove myself to you. And I was like, you don't have to prove anything to me. Like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. Queued to like a few days, a few weeks, maybe like a month or two. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's time for you to prove to me what you got. Because I can't just accept what I had before. And like, honestly, if this person like came back, I would probably be like, oh my gosh, like I miss you. Like, where have you been? Like, honestly, I just want to like just talk. Can we just talk? Can we just talk? Talk about y'all remember when that song was lit and popping everywhere? Oof. What was his name? It started with a K, right? It wasn't Khalid. Khalil? Was it Khalil? I don't know. Let me see real quick. It don't matter. It don't matter. I have a god brother named Khalil. I ain't seen him since I was a youngin', and turns out he went to like Harvard or something. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, good. Girl, what's all of this? Okay, Shelby birthday tomorrow. Y'all know I'm busy. Hello, y'all supposed to be muting all these notifications. Thank you. Because I guess I know that like it wouldn't work on either side if we were how we were. It wouldn't work. And that's also been one of the things that I'm learning. One of the past life karmic situations that I've had to move past is trying to make it work when it's not working. That's one of them, trying to make it work when it's not working. Another one was me not fully being who I am, because another thing that I've sort of learned is that in order to make this dynamic the best it could be, it would require me to be all of who I am fully 100% and completely. And the same is true, on the other side. And so I feel like there are things about us that maybe we sort of view as like, I need to do this and I need to do that to be better for somebody else. But some of that stuff is just like us or who we are or how we are. And not all of it is to be changed. And I don't know if I honestly necessarily always did that in past lives. Probably not. And another thing is like, I feel like I would get distracted by the person. And I've talked about that a lot because I feel like that was the biggest one. There would be like work that I would refuse to do. Things that I would stop showing up because it's like, I'm finally happy. Like I found someone who actually makes me happy, like a person, like a human being that can make me happy. And that doesn't really happen. So you're asking me to give this up to work? Like I already have everything in my life that I would ever want or need. So what am I working for? I had to break that at the same time. So kudos to me. And I feel like there was a lot of stuff that was highlighted to me because I don't want to say that like I was what always slowed the dynamic down, but I could realize how I contributed in past lives, and it's validated by the intense sort of like not intense urges, but like things that I didn't want to have to do, right? And I got a little reading from somebody, and I talked about the ancestral part, but she was also like, you know, and the ancestors are also like, don't too much ask us about love because your journey is more important, right? It's more important for you to reach the space to not necessarily gain the platform, but to gain or to come into your voice. It's more important for you to come into your voice for how you will serve and what you will do and where that will lead you than it is about love because it distracts me. And honestly, it's only really distracted me when it comes to this one person. And so I don't want to say that that's motivated me to do whatever, but I know that this person is someone that I want to have in my life. And so I'm willing to work even harder to have this person and do everything that I need to do. And ultimately, for me, that was the place I was supposed to reach. So the feelings were what was also guiding me of like, I know what things look like on the surface. And honestly, I don't care if I'm a fool. For those who believe in miracles, miraculous things happen. And I've always been able to perceive things below the surface. And it's like, why would this be the one time when I don't trust myself? And honestly, like this, I can, I was able to like see some type of ways, see some of the ways that that person projects their hurt, I guess. And so there were certain behaviors or certain actions or certain words like, and this person is extremely intentional with their words, extremely, extremely. But I'm also the type of person that if I don't like how something is said, then I'll get stuck up on, I'll get caught on how it's said and not necessarily like the underlying, like what was said. I'm like, I don't like how you said this, so I'm mad. I've learned to like release all kinds of stuff. But also like behind some of it, I could see when this person is hurting and I can see when they're in pain. I can also feel it. But honestly, I've distanced myself from my feelings after Nathan because it's like, it doesn't matter, like all that empathic stuff. It's important, yes, but it doesn't matter if the person doesn't want to be helped. And honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much I love you. It doesn't matter how much you love me if you're not going to do anything and if I'm not going to do anything. Because at the end of the day, feelings not backed by action, like, what is that? That's nothing. Right. And that's honestly, that's North Node, Gemini, South Node, Sagittarius. Like feelings, philosophies, all of this higher level thinking, blah, 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 whatever, doesn't matter if it's not backed by action. What are you actually doing in your 3D? What are you doing in your community? What are you doing in your world? Right? These people, some people in general, just like, you know, it's like, you know, forget about what's happening in the world, what's happening in your community. And my personal opinion is like, no, no, no. Let's not forget about what's happening in the world because what's happening in the world is important for us to address. And like we're all talking about how we're coming into this great awakening. And so I guess our greatest awakening on this planet Earth is just ignoring when like that's kind of sort of what a lot of people have been doing. And that's why we're at this point. If ignoring problems was the solution, they would have been solved a long time ago, right? You don't like if the wiring in your house is bad, if the plumbing in your house is bad, you don't plug in everything and turn everything on as if it's fixed. And then all of a sudden it's fixed. It's like, no, you call a plumber, you call an electrician to come in, get under the hood and fix what's happening. Right. And it's like some people think they're getting under the hood. And again, maybe they are. I don't know everything. But it's like some people think they're getting under the hood by ignoring everything happening around them and focusing on whatever. But and maybe that's just like that hasn't been my journey. Cause like as a person who chased towers, like whenever something would go awry or off in my personal life, or in like the community around me. And again, like I put in what mega reading number 5, maybe, or 4, I can't remember. But when I wrote, it's like I observe my physical reality just as much as I do my dreams. So if I have a dream and this kind of symbolism pops up, I'm like, okay, what is my subconscious trying to tell me? In my waking life, if something pops up, I'm like, okay, what is my subconscious trying to tell me? And when something uncomfortable comes up, I don't run from it or hide from it. I face it. Because my birth cards, the Tower and the Chariot, I guess. I was a tower chaser because it's like that's just the point that I had reached in my own life when I knew everything had to change. And so when things have to change, actions and behaviors have to be corrected and things need to be brought to your awareness. And so it's like, we're not bringing this to your awareness for you to not do anything. It's like, these are the problems in the world, South Node Sagittarius. What are you doing in your community to fix it? North Node Gemini, right? Like Gemini is backed by Mercury. Like I say it every time, Mercury is a magician. It's about using what you have at your disposal to make something happen, right? It's not about self-medicating. And you can self-medicate with drugs, you can self-medicate with alcohol, you can self-medicate with shopping, you can self-medicate with video games, you can self-medicate with meditation, you can self-medicate with high vibes and grounding and centering and breathing. Whatever you're doing to ignore the problems instead of facing the problems is self-medication. And that can include all your spiritual whatever. That can include your cord cuttings and your burning candles and you're doing this, you're releasing with the new moon rituals, full moon rituals, all that stuff. If you ain't actually facing nothing, you self-medicate. Just in a different flavor. Being real, being honest, being real honest. Because at the end of the day, if you're not actually doing anything, like that's how the 3D physical plane works. Like you kind of got to do something to get something, right? Anyway, see, I'll be trying not to rant. I'm like, I've ranted enough. And like the people that I need to talk to, I ain't even talking to, but it's out there. It's out there. By the way, does anyone know what June 18th is? I think it's the day Mercury goes retrograde. But apparently a lot of stuff is happening on June 18th. I keep seeing that date pop up like everywhere. It's like, oh, you have until June 18th. Okay, on June 18th, this will happen. On June 18th, June 18th, June 18th, June 18th, June 18th. Now, my webcam was actually, I was told it would come on June 18th. But it came early, so, hey, I'll take it. And I guess I'm on point. I'm on brand. I'm on mission, doing what I'm supposed to do. So, if I get a little bit of a sneak peek, if I get a little bit of a taste before the cake is done, then don't be mad at me. If you were in the kitchen, you would have got a taste too. Sometimes you got to get in the kitchen and talk to the chefs and the patissiers or whatever. I don't know kitchen people. The sous chef, the main chef, the patissier, the soup chef. Is that the sous chef, the one who do all the soups and sauces and stuff? I don't know. But if you in the kitchen, you get to sample, because when you're in the kitchen, the chef will ask you, hey, how does this taste? What do you think this needs? Now, sometimes the chef no, but sometimes they like to ask you. Maybe they test you a little bit. What do you think this needs? And if you get the right answer, they'll be like, oh, you know what? You're ready to be sous chef. So you passed the test. Here's a bigger hat that's more fluffier or whatever. I don't know. Sometimes you got to be in the kitchen. Some folks ain't meant to be in the kitchen because if I guess, a lack of taste is one of the symptoms. But if you're, what do they call it? What do they call it? It's palate. Your what palate? Flavor palate? It may be flavor palate. If your flavor palate ain't strong, you won't be able to taste what it's lacking, what it's missing, right? So it ain't for everybody to be in the kitchen. Sometimes you do got too many cooks in the kitchen. And if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. A lot of folks can't stand the heat, so But my thing is, like, for the folks that would call yourselves like light workers, and that's the thing about that person at the same time, right? I was like, I'm so just like fed up, done, over it. I've had my moments when I was fed up, done, over it, but the love that I have for that person would be like, no. And I talked about that in the beginning too. Like I feel like I helped my shadow too much. Cause I was kind of sort of relying on my shadow to help me get over it. I was like, all right, shadow, like do your thing. Self-sabotage, I need you to come in and kill these feelings because ain't nothing happening. I'm ready to move on. And my shadow would be like, no, I want to be over there too. I'm like, Shadow, how you gonna betray me like this? You supposed to be the part of me that does this. And my shadow was like, no, not no more. Shoot. It's like even my shadow has gotten a taste of what the good life could be. There's no part of me that doesn't want that. There's no part of me that doesn't have love for that person. And because all of me had love for that person, I had to find love for me too. That's just how it works. Um, and so, yeah, it's like I love you too much to quit. I love you too much to pull away when I feel like you need me the most. I feel like what you need the most right now is love. And it's like actual like love and not that like off-brand generic like you pay twice as much and get a quarter of the price. It's like now like 25% more, but it's like 25% more air, so you get 25% less substance. Just because they make the box bigger or the bag bigger doesn't mean you're actually getting more. That's a marketing trick. Mm-hmm. Marketing scams, that's what it all is. That's how they sell it to you. People will buy it up. But that's where I was going. It was like, and I guess that's how I know I felt my shadow, at least to that point. Because, back in the day, my shadow would have just been like, oh, that's every reason, every excuse you needed to self sabotage and get over this and never look back. But I guess that's not who I am. So it is kind of nice, though, being a little bit more whole on that front and not having pieces of me that would fight it. Now, I won't say that I haven't had my doubts because, again, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how I feel or how anyone else feels if no one does anything, right? You can live with feelings your whole life and then you end up on your deathbed as an old person with regrets, the one who got away. And the one who got away is the one that got away because you didn't, sometimes you got to give a little bit of chase to get what you want. Oof, never thought I would have been a chaser. Uh, but also at the same time, it's like it's not about chasing and it's not about running because at the end of the day, you got to face yourself. So, that's what I did. Oh, we're going to get to the cards 2 hours into the video. Goodness. What else is there? I was going to correlate that to light working, right? When things get hard, you should have enough light and love in your vessel to face it and to pour into the world instead of pulling away from it. Because it's like, and I keep saying this, but like, what are you here for? And when the world gets darker and darker, like your solution to the darkness outside is to pull your light inward. And it's like on a certain, and I guess it depends on what level you work at the same time. And I don't want to say level as if there's a hierarchy, but for some people, what they can contribute most is all of that internal alchemy, right? And for other people, and again, like I'm not out there protesting. I'm not, I don't want to say I don't have the funds to donate to other people, but I'm not donating. I'm not out there protesting. I've said everything that I needed to say, mostly on my Facebook, not really much on Instagram, but a lot of people who follow me on Instagram are on my Facebook, and a little bit on Twitter, and mostly retweets, some retweets. But at the same time, like I've always kind of sort of had more of an observer functionality anyway. So that's what I do. Like I observe what's happening. And I guess that's how I transmute. And that's always kind of sort of been my function if I think about it. As someone who has been empathic like all my life. And it's like, I guess it's always been my job to, or I've always been put in a place to help people transmute whatever they're going through, and to, through interactions with them, to transmute what they would otherwise project onto me. And so I guess, that's one of the ways where we become stars instead of mirrors for each other. When someone can project onto you, but you transmute it and then project back onto them the transmuted healed thing that they put onto you, that's when you come into a different functionality of that empath ability, or that empathic sort of line of abilities, right? And it's like for some people, they just, like, they can't handle it, so they isolate and they shut down instead of like transmuting. And again, like we all, like, there are many different ways to empath. There's not one way, right? Sagittarius South Node will also be like, there's only one way to do this, and everyone else is wrong. My North Node is in Sagittarius, so I still got to do what I need to do, right? And it ain't necessarily like me going to extremes because my South Node is in Gemini. So, I always understand that, there's different, it's different for different people. We're in different lines of business, right? And I can Sagittarius in a way where I can see sort of the different pieces, right? It's just what I've been called to do right now, and what I feel called to encourage other people to do if you can. If you can observe a little bit, and if you can it's like transmute what you can and then step away. Like, you don't have to be knee deep in it 24/7, right? And also at the same time, you can hold, like I just saw, so there's a lot of things, a lot of political things happening on very intentional dates. And it started yesterday on the anniversary of Pulse. And then we got the thing coming up on Juneteenth in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where that whole massacre happened that a lot of people probably don't even know about, right? Because one of the narratives, I guess I'm getting political, but hey, and it's not even political though. And like, can we just talk about that for a second? How like something could be like your literal, like actual real life, your day to day. I go out into the world and I have to live with this and face this. But since you don't, it's politics. That's an element of privilege, where for you it can be politics, but for me this is like literally life or death. And beyond just, the police, it could be anybody. Because, Mr. Zimmerman wasn't a policeman. He was just some dude, in a car with a weapon or whatever. I get my stories mixed up sometimes because, it happened with so many people, but he was just in the neighborhood. He was somebody in the neighborhood who saw somebody who he didn't like. And nothing happened, right? It kind of sort of happens a lot. And then they was talking about how they gassing the people that they got, like the people that they have detained with all the ICE stuff that was going on, how they started gassing people. And it's supposedly non-lethal, but they said they gassing people like 100 times a day. And it's like, we really doing everything that, growing up was said we would never repeat. Girl, okay. Anyway, I keep forgetting where I'm going. There's just like so much, too much coming to my brain. Yeah, the things that are happening. Yeah, the thing in Tulsa, Oklahoma that a lot of people don't even know about, when it's like people will tell minorities, you should do this, you should do that, you should be that, to be a contributing member of society, blah, 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 whatever. But then when we actually started doing that in Tulsa, it disrupted the system that was already being built. And so it got destroyed. And a lot of people don't even know about it. And that's the whole thing about, what do they call them? Oh, I forget what the term is. But even if you become everything that people tell you that you should be, they'll still treat you as less than, right? Because we see it happening to celebrities who will get profiled. We see it happening to educated people who will get profiled. We see it happening to like people who are doing literally everything people will say they should be doing. and they still get profiled and they still get murdered and nothing still happens. So the whole game is BS, by the way. If you don't know that, if you don't see that, then I mean, there comes a certain point where you're willingly, like, willfully ignorant. And there's a lot of people who I feel like, regardless of if you see the problems or not, regardless of if you want to admit it or not, if you have privilege in a situation, you pretty much know you have privilege. Like, for all of the folks who don't see color, for all the folks who want to say they're colorblind, okay, if you don't see color, if you so colorblind, like, you know, would you give up the privilege that you have to be in the minority? And I don't know what her name is, but that one little old white lady, and I'm saying little old white lady because, I mean, she's older, she's white, and she's a lady. I don't know if she's little, but the one who gives the talks on race, and she'll have the white people in the audience, you know. And she was like, you know, raise your hand if you would like want to live, like if you would want to be black. I'm like, actually be black and not just like, you know, culturally black, you know, like skin color, not just the music, not just the food, not just the hairstyles, not just, you know, why can't we all say the N word, blah, 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 right? Like actually black and nobody raises their hand. But then ask a question like, raise your hand if you think that, you know, racism isn't a problem in this country, and a whole bunch of hands go up. Okay, so it's not a problem. But, and that's the thing, it's like, you're blind enough that you can't see that there's a problem, but you're not so ignorant that you would go to the other side of the fence because you know your grass is greener. And your grass is greener because, you know, you don't allow anyone to take care of their yard on the other side, because if someone else's grass got a little bit of green, you would be threatened because you need for your grass to be greener. Why do you need for your grass to be greener? Right? Because I'm not necessarily going to call anyone mediocre, but like mediocrity in terms of what you take from other people and then try to adapt as your own. Mediocrity in like, it's like you don't even want to actually be held to any kind of standard, really. And like, that's the whole, like, you know, we're so great type of mentality. We're the greatest country on the planet. Well, what do you actually do better than other people when it comes to greatness? When we're talking about metrics of greatness, so we ain't talking about incarcerating people, we ain't talking about killing people, we ain't talking about taking stuff from other people, we ain't talking about none of that. We ain't talking about, you know, being uneducated and proud of how uneducated you are. We ain't talking about none of that. What do you actually do better than other countries that makes you so great? Because if you look at the rankings, if you look at the listings, just like that little special on that one show, I don't know if y'all seen it, when he was like, the only things that America are number one in is the amount of money we spend on the military, the number of incarcerations per capita, stuff like that. If we talk about healthcare, if we talk about education, if we talk about the stuff that actually matters, we're not number one. Like, there's, you know, and that's another thing coming to the light nowadays. That's where our priorities actually are, you know. And I may actually shut this video down and just I'm going to shut this down and just start a whole new live when I actually do this. And then I'll just leave it up, I guess. Yeah, I'll call this the ramble. It's interesting that it's the ramble because, you know, the ramble is that part of Central Park or whatever. I don't know, New York, where Amy Cooper tried to call the police. And that's what people be doing. Well, she was like, I'm going to call the police and tell them that a black man is threatening me. And then she on the phone with the police, and I guess they wasn't giving her the response she wanted. So she continued to escalate the situation to make it seem like she was really in danger. Right. See, social media is the blessing of Aquarius, low key. And that's, I guess, you know, the social media being digital, It's Aquarian in nature, and it's going to be one of the things that actually leads into the age of Aquarius because it's one of the few things that the mass media has a little bit more of a difficulty manipulating, right? Because now you can see the truth. You kind of sort of still got to go find it sometimes, but you know it's the gift of Aquarius social media. You can see that like he was recording the whole thing, and then she gonna kill the dog. She like strangling the dog the whole time. I'm like, girl, you don't even care about this dog. The way you treating that dog. She lost her dog. She lost her job, and then she want to come out. I'm not racist. I'm not this. I'm not that. And then they say that black people play the race card, but then they be just as quick. And that's what people mean when like, oh, and that could have been his life. He would have been one of the names. I can't even remember his name. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a great thing that I don't remember his name. And it shouldn't have to be, right? I mean, it happens so often that there are so many names that I don't know that we don't even know, right? Assuming. Because every day it's like if you're tapped in, you're like, here's something else that we're not talking about. Here's another thing that we're not talking about. Why is no one talking about this person? It's just like with all the mass shootings and stuff like that. When it's like, I'm glad that we're getting to the point where we're saying no more. But, you know, your right and freedom to have a gun or whatever is more important than, you know, someone else's right to live. And I mean, honestly, it's one of the unwritten like rights and the what do you, is it the Bill of Rights? The first 10 amendments? I'm pretty sure. My brain is all the way out there, y'all. If I don't even remember the Bill of Rights. I think it's the Bill of Rights. Hey Siri, what is the Bill of Rights? Siri, girl, where you at? Hey Siri, what is the Bill of Rights? Yeah, okay. Thank you. One of the unwritten Bill of Rights is your right to take someone else's life, honestly. And that's how we treat it. Your right to take someone else's life and your right to devalue someone else's life. And that is literally what America was built on. You should have let them starve, man. You should have let them starve. I ain't gonna say that because everything is a journey. In the Bible, it says that it's harder for a rich man. It's harder for, oh, it was in my mind before I started. I don't know if it's harder or it's easier. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven. I believe that's what it is. It's easier to pass a camel, a whole camel, through the eye of a needle, a tiny needle. It's easier to push a camel through a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven. And it's because they don't care. It's because their money is more important than the actual, and it blinds you, right? There are probably so many people who call themselves so religious, but if you get to the pearly gates, if you sat down and talked to Jesus, I feel like Jesus would be like, you know how you excuse this and how you excuse that when I say in my book that you claim to have read and that you claim to be an avid fan and supporter of, that like love your neighbor as yourself, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Like it's like you read the whole Bible, but you skipped over the love part. And like God is love is literally in the Bible. So if God is love and ain't no love in you, then where's the God in you? Like where what have you done down there to actually get up here? Like where's the love? And it ain't the love you have for your kids when you have it. It ain't the love that you have for your parents when you have it. It's the love you have for the people who are harder for you to love. Because that's when it actually matters. It's not what's easy, right? I'm gonna shut this down here. Actually, I'm gonna make sure I finish this little rant up. before I shut this down and then come right back to get into these cards, if I had to give this initial overview, the Three of Swords is the thing that we've been wanting. It actually speaks to an element of prophecy. Then we have this Empress here, which is all about creation, divine feminine energy. This is about love and care and compassion. We have the King of Wands and the Seven of Wands, which all together is Eight Wands, which is all about sort of like rapid communication, rapid movement, and I'm going to say passionate action, because wands can be action sometimes, and them eights is quick, right? Yeah, eight is a number of abundance, an abundance of passion. Like the fire is so whatever that you just like, you have to act on it and you got to go quick. That's the Eight of Wands. You got to go fast, like Sonic. But this Eight of Wands is coming through the Seven of Wands and the King of Wands. So these are both defiant energies, but the King of Wands gets stuff done. Like the King of Wands actually does something to acquire and get the things that he wants. The Seven of Wands is an advantageous position. It usually comes after the victory. It can also be an element of recognition for said victories, right? And that's what this Empress is about. But this is what, this is like when I say that people have been manifesting this and people manifest that, but they don't know what they're actually manifesting. Because in order for you to get this and in order for you to get that, you're going to have to do something to get it, right? You ask me for $1 million, I give you a business plan, right? Like that's how it works. It's not you ask me for $1 million and then you win the lottery. Now, some people win the lottery. But what we're facing right now in the world is like, you asked me for $1 million. I gave you a business plan. I gave you a job. I gave you some stocks in this company that you're going to have to watch and sell when the time is right. If you sell too early, you're not going to get your million. If you sell at just the right time, you're going to get your million. If you can hold off a little bit longer, you may get $1 billion or 2 million, right? Let's not get crazy. But it requires some kind of action. So that's what this is. Like we've only been looking at like, oh, we want this and we want that, but not looking at this, right? And that's why I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to go to the restroom. I'm going to be right back, and then I'm going to start a new live where I actually get in this. So if you tune into this expecting all of this, I'm sorry, but that's the way the world works sometimes, I guess. But I think I got it all out of my system, so I'll be good. And like, maybe it's because I'm a Pisces, but I can hold multiple things within me. I can be upset with everything that's been happening. I can be upset with the people who I would think would sort of shine their lights instead of dimming them and hiding them when it matters. Again, we all do it in our own way, so maybe y'all shine it somewhere. I don't know. I don't see y'all 24/7. I don't know what y'all up to. I don't know what y'all doing. You know, but I can also be hopeful about it all at the same time. You know, I can see the mess that we're in, but see the horizon that lies beyond. And that's because that's been my experience with dark nights, right? I don't curse the night because it's dark. I appreciate that when things are dark, the animals who live in the dark get their time to be awake, get their time to hunt, get their time to feed. And I also appreciate that, you know, because I know dark, I have an awareness for light, right? I know the sun's going to come up again. And, you know, I've worked quite a few overnight shifts. So, you know, I've worked all night before. Sometimes you work at night and you sleep in the daytime. And, you know, I guess the third shift light workers are active right now, while the first and second shifts are asleep. But if you work third shift, more often than not, you get paid a little more. They compensate you for working at night. They compensate you for the overnight. Now, it may be more annoying to schedule appointments and to meet up with people because you're asleep when everyone else is awake, but you get paid more for working at night. So keep working if you're out there working, or pick up a shift or two if you want a little bit extra, whatever. It shouldn't be about the whatever, but if we got to make it about the whatever to get people to work, then hey, you know, that's why people get paid, right? So I guess tune in to the part 2 that will come shortly, or don't. It's up to you. It's your life. Live it how you see fit. But don't be upset either. Because a lot of people want to talk. A lot of people want to be like, oh, actions, choices, decisions. But when it comes to consequences, all of a sudden, I'm not this, I'm not that, and I. Short circuit. Like, you didn't think that there'd be any consequence, so that's why you did what you did, isn't it? It's time that we interject a little bit more consequence. Just like it happened in Hollywood. When some of them folks started getting consequences, who was doing whatever they were doing for years, probably thought it would never come to bite them back. And now that we're holding them accountable, it's like, oh, but I'm old, or oh, but this, oh, but that. It's like, no. Justice, she comes around. She may have left town for a little bit, or a lot of it, but she's coming back. Because that's what everyone's been manifesting. Right? Y'all been manifesting this justice. Don't get scared now that she getting to work, because she ain't come to play, right? If you wanted somebody who came to play, maybe you should have manifested a Two of Swords. Sometimes she cut, sometimes she don't. She kind of confused and lost herself. She ain't, but